welcome to the I'm in Love with That Song podcast. I'm your host, Brad Page. In each episode, I pick one of my favorite songs and we listen to it together, listening for all the little moments and special touches that make it a great song. No musical skill or knowledge is required. All you need is a love for music and you're going to fit right in here. Well, I just realized that I've recorded almost 100 episodes and yet I've never talked about Wilson Pickett, one of my all-time favorite soul singers. So let's remedy that. This is one of Wilson's big hits and one of my favorites. 99.5 Won't Do.
Don't be led in the wrong direction. Oh no. Stop and think. A man needs a little love and affection. Oh yes, he do, child. 99.5 just won't do.
Wilson Pickett was born March 18th, 1941 in Prattville, Alabama. He was the youngest of 11 children. When he was a teenager, he moved to Detroit with his father, and before long he was singing in a gospel group called the Violinaires. But things really kicked into gear when he joined the Falcons, who already had a hit single. Wilson sang the lead vocal on their 1962 hit, I Found a Love.
I found the love. I found the love. I found the love that I need. Oh, yeah.
He left the Falcons and started his solo career that same year. He released some records for a small label. Then he was signed to Atlantic Records by Jerry Wexler in 1964. He cut a few singles in New York with a more sophisticated style, but those didn't go anywhere. Then they came up with the brilliant idea to send Wilson down to Stax Records in Memphis to see what they could come up with. And boy, did that work. On May 12th, 1965, Wilson Pickett recorded 4 songs with the Stax House Band. One of them was In the Midnight Hour. It's about as classic as a song can get. Wilson had struck gold in Memphis.
I'm gonna wait till the midnight hour. That's when my love comes tumbling down. I'm gonna wait when the midnight hour. That's when my love begins to shine. Just you and I. Oh, baby. Just you and I.
He recorded 2 more songs at Stax in September of '65, then returned one final time on December 20th to record 3 more tracks. And after that, Wilson would move on and never return to Stax. But those 9 songs recorded there are absolutely iconic and play a key part in Stax history. The last song he recorded at Stax was 99.5 Won't Do. Wilson is on lead vocal, with Steve Cropper on guitar, Isaac Hayes on piano, Donald Duck Dunn on bass, Al Jackson Jr. on drums. How about that for a band? With Packy Axton and Floyd Newman on saxophones. The song was written by Steve Cropper, Eddie Floyd, and Wilson Pickett. Steve Cropper came up with the title and the music. On the way into the studio, he drove by a billboard for Coca-Cola that said 99.5% won't do, and he thought, that's a great idea for a song. Wilson came up with the melody, and Eddie Floyd chipped in with the lyrics. The intro features Steve Cropper on guitar and Duck Dunn on bass, and it's a quirky piece of work. It starts with a little guitar lick in E, then there's a G chord and a G diminished chord, back to the G, to an A, and eventually you get to the E. The song is in the key of E, but this intro is anything but traditional or predictable. Here's the lick in E. This is G, and G diminished, back to G, A, and home to E. And when you add in Duck Dunn's bass part, it's even more eccentric. Let's listen to the whole intro again into the first verse. Wilson comes right in with the vocal, no messing around.
Oh, yeah. Not just a little part, but all of your heart.
A quick flam on the snare drum brings us to the chorus.
99 and a half just won't do. No.
The horns join on the chorus. They're pushed to the background a bit, but they're embellishing it with a classic R&B horn part. Let's hear that chorus again.
99 and a half just won't do. No, ain't gonna get it, no, no.
Here comes the second verse.
Don't be led in the wrong direction. Oh, no.
Let's turn up Wilson's vocal.
Stop and think. A man needs a little love and affection. Oh, yes, he do, child. 99 and a half.
Here's a vintage Wilson Pickett scream.
Just won't get it, no, no.
Here's the closest thing to a bridge in this song. It's just a nice little guitar lick from Steve Cropper.
We got to bring it on down.
That's one of the few times when you can hear Isaac Hayes' piano pop out in the mix, that little bit of piano tinkling there.
It's not living right. Oh, yes, we do, now, child. Stop messing around and keep things uptight. Oh, yeah.
Notice how on the chorus, Steve Cropper is playing the same kind of choppy rhythm pattern he used on the intro.
We got to realize that 99 and a half just won't do. No, got to have 100.
That guitar lick from the intro returns. There's another great vocal from Wilson. He was famous for being able to scream on pitch.
Got to have 100. No, ain't no use of fooling ourselves, honey. Oh, we ain't gonna be able to get by off 99. No.
And one more great scream before we fade out.
Lord have mercy. Just won't do now. Baby, it just won't do now. No. Won't do.
Wilson Pickett, 99 and a half won't do. The 9 songs he cut at Stax would make him a star. He went on to record many more great tracks and some huge hits at other studios, including in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, where he would solidify his legend. Some of those tracks, they're going to appear on this show in the future. You can guarantee it. His catalog, it's priceless to me. It's hard to top James Brown, but when it comes to funk and soul music, Wilson Pickett, he's right up there. Thanks for joining me once again on the I'm in Love with That Song podcast. We are part of the Pantheon network of podcasts, the home for many of the best music podcasts out there. So be sure to check out the other shows. This show will be back in 2 weeks. Until then, talk to us on Facebook. Send an email to lovethatsongpodcast@gmail.com or write a review on Podchaser. I always appreciate that. All of our past shows can be found on our website, lovethatsongpodcast.com. And remember to follow the show so you'll get 100% of our episodes. Because, as Wilson Pickett says, 99.5 won't do.
99.